Philly's going to bounce back. I know everyone's looking at Miami. That's a tough spot to go in against the Philadelphia Eagles defensively. I like the Dolphins. I think you can win with Tua and that offense that's averaging about 30 plus. The Eagles are averaging over 450 something odd yards of offense. You would suspect it's going to be a high scoring affair. But do you believe the Dolphins are built to make a deep run in the playoffs? Because typically we've seen historically, there have been a couple teams and situations where greatest show on turf, right? They were scoring 30, 35, 40, 41. But when they needed to make a play defensively and when they needed to score big time in the Super Bowl, they got it against Tennessee, but they weren't putting up 35 in that game. Point being, come playoff time, and you look at Miami and you look at the running backs that can throw out there, it just reminds me of the NBA when defenses, you ratchet it up and the game's not as wide open on the floor, half court offense, here we go, now try to score. Miami Dolphins. If they rely solely or just airing it out constantly and you go up against a team that can really stop the run, do you believe they will be in trouble? Do you believe this team is built as presently constructed offensively to make a deep run in the playoffs?
So Q, when you look at them, if they're averaging 37 points a game, and everybody's talking about could they set the record of scoring 700 points in a season, and I kind of agree with you. At every point in the season, whether it's a championship one or a deep playoff run, a team's got to ball their fist up and have a physical game where they run the football, play good defense, and then protect the football. And you wonder, can Miami do this? I guess over the next couple of weeks, we'll kind of find out, can they go in bad environments, because they're still playing in the AFC East, and
Yeah.
they're going to be playing out weather and conditions, and Tua's not going to have that perfect situation like where either in a dome or it's warm down in Miami where he can air it out and throw it to his speedsters out there, and teams are going to do that press coverage, and then they're going to try to get some pressure on a quarterback. We know that offensive line with Connor Williams at center, he's a guy that can be kind of beaten. And then Teron Armstead's a very good tackle, but he can also he's injured at points. And then you can also get around him. So this team, as they're constructed, they're high flying, but you always kind of see those high flyer teams. Something happens, as you said. I always think about the '98 Vikings where Randy Moss and Randall Cunningham and Jake Reed and Carter and all
Yep.
those guys, and then they lose to the Falcons in a physical game where Anderson ran the ball down their throat, and then they made some timely stops on defense. So, we're going to see how this Dolphins team does, but I definitely think physicality is something you got to watch for them, because Fangio, he's trying to clean that defense up, but they still are having some problems there. Yes, they're going to get Ramsey back soon, which will help that secondary, but they're still not getting enough pressure on a cornerback, in my opinion.
Well, look what happened when they played Buffalo. So they've got close to 3,000 total yards of offense. Buffalo has right around 2,200. I mean, look, two was thrown for over 1,800. They got over, I'm sorry, yeah, over 1,000 plus already when you talk about their ground attack. But the Chargers, New England, Denver, the first test, Buffalo, they lost by 28. The Giants hung in there. Carolina, they waxed. I think we're going to look at Miami come Monday and either say, man, they are legit, or you get physical with them and you shut them down and make them a one-dimensional team, they're going to be in trouble, because that's what the Philadelphia Eagles, they can do that. They can stack the box. We know about the depth. They can get to the quarterback. That's why Tua gets rid of the ball so fast. So it's going to be interesting. You mentioned the Eagles and their secondary issues against those wide receivers and those speedsters with Miami. On the surface, you might look at this game and say, man, it's going to be high scoring. If you're the Philadelphia Eagles, I don't believe you want to get in a track meet with Miami. And conversely, if you're Miami, the last thing you want is to have Tua drop back to pass 45 plus times in a game. Like, they're going to have to establish the run against a very good run defense.
Yeah, and we know Mostert is good on the outside in terms of his big long runs and everything. I don't think a Chen's playing, and he's the same way. They were guys that want to get outside, but you have to have those tough physical runs up the middle of that defense, and that's the Eagles' strength in terms of their defensive line. I think they're going to get Jalen Carter back in this game. They got Jordan Davis in there, and they're thumpers, and then the Kobe Dean is playing as well. It's a linebacker position. They got him back, and he's going to be in there as well. So they're going to, as you said, they're going to try to stop the run first, and then in terms of Hill and Waddle, they're going to try to give them a little cushion and try to make sure they're keeping them in front of them. That's the main thing. But I think, can the Eagles get the pressure with Reddick and the rest of those guys on the defensive line, and that'll allow Tua not to feel comfortable back there.
How about Detroit 5-1, taking on Baltimore 4-2?